Is it working? I think I mixed something. Okay, we are streaming, but are you reading me? So I'll send you an email. Oh, and we're looping again. Okay, five viewers are on. I sent you an email a moment ago, but it seems that you were able to find it yourself. So, are you on? What were your snacks? Salty or sweet? Martyna, were you able to sell your car? If you need a car to buy that's very beautiful, and you should contact her, get in touch with her. So just let me know that you are on, and we continue. So write me anything. Once the first person writes something. So we have 6 viewers. Hi, are you reading me? Guys, are you reading me? Hi. Okay. No snacks. I'm eating dinner. Healthy. Good for you. Okay, so if you are eating dinner and the other guys are not eating dinner, yes, we are here, don't worry, we are still here. I'm not worried. I just want to know. You know, if you are, there are some benefits and the bad sides of streaming lectures, because usually when I present a lecture face to face, it's very seldom that I start to talk and suddenly I realize that no one is there. It doesn't happen like this. But here it can happen. But no problem. Still, your group is very, very small, so I appreciate that you are attending quite regularly. So, let's continue. I have a lot of slides that I would like to cover before we stop the subject of attractiveness, although I like the subject. So, to cut it short, do women find men attractive? I mean, what a question. I mean, heterosexual women do find men attractive. So they do. The next slide. And there is this, creepy research that shows that women prefer more masculine face in follicular phase. Okay. But women The more important fact is women don't find men attractive. So the third slide. So they do find men attractive and they don't find men attractive. When I say men, I mean manly features. I know that some people don't like when we say that some feature is male and some feature is female, because of these more complex perception and functioning and identification among people with some traits. But I'm talking here about biology. Biologically speaking, testosterone, for instance, which is also present in your blood streams, but it's in much higher density in men. And it has some influence on the way we look. So it can be called male hormone. So the problem with sexual dimorphism, the fact that that it's easy, in most cases, it's very easy to say whether someone is male or female, although it's not that obvious. It's not that obvious. I think it's what's the English for hyena? Hyena. What's the English for hyena? Could you Google it up for me, or perhaps you know it? For instance, in hyenas, it's very difficult to distinguish male from female. If you look at them, even if you look at the genitals, it's very difficult to distinguish unless you make an autopsy. So it's quite difficult to determine, and in most cases it is easy to say whether someone is male or female. And when we talk about this, it's very curious that for most animals, for most species, male individuals are more attractive than females. Hyena, okay. Hyena, thanks. So another word that I have learned today, hyena. Here, hyena, right? Like hygiene, hyena. Okay. Could you Google the pronunciation for me? So in most cases, in most animals, males are much more impressive, they are much more beautiful, and females are less beautiful. In people, in Homo sapiens, or perhaps in every Homo, it's the opposite. So the females are more attractive than males, but it's just a curious fact. So, but if you take, because in our population, if you take 1,000 random people and evaluate their attractiveness, there will be women at the top. So women are the more beautiful individuals in our species. So generally, basically, initially, male men are perceived as more attractive, but to some extent, because as far as long-term mating strategies, mating is finding a partner, mating strategies are concerned, then men with dominant male features are perceived as less attractive because of psychological differences that are perceived in terms of lower honesty, lower warmth. My pronunciation of this word, I reckon, is perfect. Hyena, okay. Although English is a very, very strange language. It might be because English is so easy to learn. The vocabulary, the grammatics is so easy relative to the pronunciation, which used to be phonetic in the past. So if you have woman, it was pronounced woman in the past, probably something like this, or more, or things like this. Then, but the pronunciation has changed and the writing is conservative. It's a little bit like this in Polish as well, a little bit. We still write jabłko, but pronounce it jabłko. Saying jabłko is considered an error in pronunciations, hypercorrection. You should say jabłko. So it's quite interesting. It's good to be male, and it's not good. It's bad to be male. If you want to build a relationship, what's attractive in women faces? Traits that are sensitive to estrogen again, right? So again, we have the strong biological influence here, because it indicates the sexual dimorphism, that this woman has a lot of high hormonal levels that are conducive to procreation. But also the youth, right? The youth, it's someone, I think, did you mention, or the other group mentioned, the quality of skin is also important. So skin reveals whether we are young or older. And it's really surprising, right? It's really surprising. You are young, so you haven't experienced this yourself, but I'm 31 years old. And I really am surprised how the imperfections in the tone and in the color of my skin started to increase with age after I turned like 35 years old. So you had some spot on your head in the past, and like a little cut or something like this, and it vanished, and this color of the skin was the same as it was in the past. But after you turn a certain age, your face is the history of all the pimples you can have and all the things like this. So it's really surprising. I don't know whether you haven't started to experience this, but it's really skin, the color of skin. I mean the quality of skin. Sorry for my hyper biological approach now. It's really a good indicator of your age. So we seek estrogen levels and youth. So women with neonatal facial features are considered more attractive. So and really, right, if you look at the picture here of Angelina Jolie, she's really looking like a child if you look at this way. Large eyes, large forehead, nice large lips, little nose, and that's it. Okay, so let's go further. So what's more psychological attractive in faces? So features that are desired, that indicate desired partner's personality, right? And some of them are present on our face. But we also consider situational cues. We take it into consideration, and it differs what we perceive as less or more attractive. And dating apps are an extremely rich source of data of real life behaviors, real life social behaviors, but at the same time such that leave the trace, because the servers, they record people's responses, and we can analyze this using big data strategies to find some very nice patterns. So, for instance, men who are looking fun and outgoing are preferred And women who are looking smart and serious are less preferred on dating apps. So there is this negative and this positive influence of if you are using dating apps, you might consider this. And I'm really, I'm a technology geek to some extent, and I really miss. I think that I really missed something culturally important, that when I met my wife and when I was in the age of looking for a wife, dating apps were absent at the time. They haven't been devised at that moment, and I don't have this experience of using dating apps. And it seems so intriguing using dating apps, and this is a cultural experience that I will probably miss in my life. I feel so much deprived and so unfair for such a technology geek as me, that I will not be able to use. I will have no reason to use dating apps in the future. So let's talk a little bit more about face. So face is the most recognizable part of the body, the most important part of the body. Social interactions guide to personality. Okay. It indicates our identity. So are you this person? Race. Are you one of us? Are you one of us? Social traits, can I trust you? And gender, can we mate? Everything is printed on your face, right? So there are a couple of, we will not cover everything here, but it might be a good idea to focus on some more things associated. So you probably, because you probably had this question in your mind for the last 3 or 4 hours. How much, I covered it a little bit, but how much can we guess? How much can we guess about person regarding, when we look at the face, we have certain impressions about this person. For instance, does the person drink? Can you look, because I cannot look at your faces, because they're very tiny on those pictures, but you can look at my face here and you can predict, do I drink? Do I drink a lot? Are this person's parents divorced, right? So let's not dissect me, let's dissect this guy. He's the author of the paper, actually. About, their name is missing. I think it was Olivola or Olivola, yeah. Okay, so let's look at the author of the paper about judging how accurate our judgments are based on facial features. So pick up, okay? Pick up like 3 questions or 4, or you can, answer each of them, okay? It won't be that difficult. So there are no numbers here, so I will add numbers. Can I add numbers? Here? Okay, no, okay, I will not. Oh. So just pick up, okay? Pick up a question, read these questions, and pick up a question where you think that you seem to know the answer. Okay? Read these questions and pick up 2 or 3 where you seem to know the answer, and just write me what's your guesses. Okay, what's your guesses? What's this person's sexual orientation? Can you guess this person's sexual? What's your gut feeling, right? What's your gut feeling? What do you feel about this? Because you clearly don't know this person's sexual orientation, but do you have a certain impression? So what is this person's sexual orientation? Do you think that this person uses drugs? Did this person go to public high school? Has this person ever been arrested? Is this person still a virgin? Does this person drink? Does this person own a gun? Are this person's parents divorced? Has this person ever gotten into a fist fight? Is this person a virgin? No! Is this person in a long-term relationship? yeah. So, but Julia, do you think this person is in a long-term relationship? Does this person have a college degree? Yeah, okay, so he seems to have a college degree. Oh, you are, Martina, you are very accurate in your predictions. I think he drinks alcohol from time to time. Okay. I think it's a very safe answer to say that he drinks from time to time. Okay. So he's not a teetotaler. Teetotaler, one of the most difficult to pronounce word. Teetotaler. Teetotaler. Teetotaler or teetotaler? So what are your other guesses? I will tell you. Julia, we must. Please don't ever write yes or no, because I don't remember all the questions. So, but the question was is he in a long-term relationship? Okay. So I'll tell you my impressions. Yeah, perhaps no. He hasn't been arrested, so that's my impression. He's not a virgin. He drinks. Hasn't got a gun. So he looks like he's married. I don't know why. Yeah, I wanted to ask you what do you base your prediction? He looks like Steve Carell a bit. Okay, yeah, I agree. Does it change? So you think that he's similar? He's similar to Steve Carell? Julia, how do you know that this person has a college degree? How do you know this? So there is a very, very nice effect, because this research was also conducted using internet data. So there was, I tried to Google it, and I think that the page is no longer on, but there was a very nice page. Oh my God, I can't remember the page, the name of the page. I didn't write it down. So there was a page where you could ask people to rate what kind of impression you give, right? What kind of impression you give. So you presented your photo. You asked questions. Do I look like someone who? Do I look like someone? And I think there were some default questions beside that. And you could also ask about your. So people rated your. They rated your. They gave you information what kind of impression you built. So it's quite an interesting site. I don't know whether it's down. Why, and if so, why it is down? Because it seems like a nice source of information and fun information. Probably people posted photos that didn't belong to them. So, but this research, this is a very interesting research. If you look at the outcomes, so here are the outcomes. Can you see how interesting it is? So there are free information here on this slide. So this is accuracy, people's accuracy, how accurate you were. So here is okay, I always have different. I thought I got it. So let's read the frequency of the most prevalent categories characteristic. The most prevalent categories characteristic on the network is based, mean observed accuracy level. So here are the judgments of people. Okay, here is the judgment of people. Here is what people. Hold on a second. I'm sorry for this. on the website, servers, black bars. Oh my God, server. I tried to. Yeah, I thought I got it, but okay. So if you want to to know the exact interpretation, just I think you need to go back to the paper. Sorry for this, but because I have problems with understanding these two, because there are three types of information here. Dominant based. Okay, okay, I think I got it. So dominant base rate. Dominant base rate. So this is a distribution of certain characteristic in the population. Okay, in the population. So like 90% of people are heterosexual in the population, and the black bar, it seems to be the distribution, seems to be the base rate for the respondents in the survey. So what participants really reported, what they really were, okay, what they really were. And the middle bar, is what other perceivers attributed to them in terms of accuracy, okay? So yeah, this is wrong, because this slide is a little bit wrong, because it's not accuracy here for this and this, because it's only here is the accuracy rating, and here's the prevalence of certain characteristic in the population. So there are about 90% of heterosexual individuals in the population. There were roughly 90% among the responders, among those who wanted to be judged. And here we have accuracy of raters. So whether you are able to accurately distinguish whether this person is homosexual or heterosexual based on his or her facial features, or not only facial features, but on the photo, on all those information that's on the photo. It's important to notice this, because there are some studies that show that, for instance, that machine-trained algorithms are able to distinguish people based on their photos, whether they are homosexual or heterosexual. And people said, okay, so it has something to do with this and this, because if it's a machine learning algorithm, it's very difficult to say how this machine determined whether this person is homosexual or not. And in many cases, it's not the face, it's not the critical information, it's just some additional information, like colors, for instance. It can be colors, and can be pose, and anything. Background. There was another research in which the researchers manipulated and blurred the picture so much that you cannot distinguish any facial features, and the computers were still able to distinguish. So it's not necessarily about the face, it's about some other information. We don't know which one, but there is some significant, not very large, but significant effect for this. So we can see like, what's the accuracy? The people were successful in determining whether someone was homosexual or not, whether someone used drugs, because 50% would be the random. If we are not able to distinguish, then we would be 50% accurate. So in one case we would be right, and in the other case we would be wrong. Okay, it's 50% accuracy. So if you are 50% accurate, it means, and the question is yes or no, it means that you are not accurate at all, right? It's 0% accuracy, in fact. But in 50% of cases, they were right, and in 50% they were wrong. So it meant that they were just guessing at random, but the accuracy here was above 60%. So they were able to distinguish this. And the error bars here are important, because they say whether it was important or not. So there is something, right? 60% here for use of drugs. Quite large quite large effect for education, whether it was a public high school or private high school, quite large. The virginity issue that you mentioned also, that attracted your attention, ever arrested also on gun. Divorced parents seemed to be insignificant. A long-term relationship seemed to be insignificant, but still, in some cases, in the minority of cases, people were not able to predict accurately. But in the majority of cases, they were, and for some features, like socio-economic status, which is going to a public high school is an indicator of this. There were some strikingly high accuracy, but this is a research with a twist, because they were much less accurate than if they based their judgments on the base rates in the population. So it was a much better idea, because you know that the majority. So it shows that whenever we have an opportunity to base on our gut feelings or on our mind, on our prefrontal cortex, we tend to choose the gut feelings. Because if you don't know this person, but you know that about 90% of people in the population are heterosexual, what would be your best guess? Your best guess would be to say he's heterosexual. Every time you would have 90% accuracy, right? You would have 90% accuracy. Even if you just, if you repeated the same answer all the time, you would have much better chances. Not trying to formulate your opinion based on your gut feelings or your face reading or your exceptional psychological or cognitive abilities. Just using your rational thinking. So if this person, how accurate can I be in predicting, basing my judgments on some peripheral features, how much it can be better than my knowledge of distribution of some characteristic, some social characteristic in the population, right? So if there's a question, does the person take drugs? No, because the right assumption would be no, because most people don't take drugs. So this person probably does not take drugs. So you can predict to some extent. You have two sources of information. Most of them, both aren't random. Both are accurate. Okay, but the much more accurate is using your base rate information. So it's very for the cognitive level, it seems a very interesting phenomenon. We will talk about how people are poor at using base rate information later when we talk about reasoning. If it's night and you see someone with a dark face, with sombrero and guitar, singing Spanish songs on your street, is it someone from Spain or from Poland? Might be a better idea to guess this from Poland, because so few people from Spain here. We'll talk about this later. So very interesting. Two interesting things that we are, but it's not very impressive. It's a little bit more than it is for random evaluations, but it's much better to assume that people are average. Voila. What's the main conclusion from this data? When something is more popular in population, like heterosexual, assign it more often to another. The main conclusion from this data is that people are able to distinguish, based on photos, to distinguish certain characteristic, whether a person uses drugs, because it's much higher than 50%. Public high school, criminal record, sexual activity, drinking, but okay, it's not very impressive because it's a little bit higher than random for most of them. Like if you judge, for instance, right? If you have this, or let's say if you want to know whether someone was ever arrested or not. So if you just answer at random, and you have 100% of people, then you are correct. Statistically speaking, you would be correct for 50% of people. Okay, 50% of people you would be correct. But if you base your judgments, right, on your knowledge, right, about the fact that majority of people don't have problems with criminal records, then you should always to 100% of people say, no, he does not have criminal record. And this, no, this, no, this, no, this, no, this, no, this, no, 100 like this, and you will be more accurate than the other person who, took a lot of effort to say whether this person had a criminal record or not. So the worst thing is talking at random. A better thing is really listening to your gut feelings, because there is something that you can something meaningful that you build on. There is not very impressive, but there is. But the best strategy, right? The best strategy is just to know what's the distribution in the population and build your expectations toward other people on your knowledge about the average in the population, if you don't have any other information. Is it clear? Is it clear? I think it's really nice. I will show another example. Are you able to predict whether someone voted for Republicans or for Democrats? Right? Are you able to distinguish whether you are able to? Are people able to distinguish between Democrats and Republicans in the United States? You're welcome, Julia. And they are, but it's like 56% for political orientation that you can. But if you take into account other base rate information, okay, base rate information, you are much more accurate. So you see a face, you say, okay, this guy looks like someone who votes for Szymon in Poland, or this one looks like someone who votes for Andrzej, and this one looks like someone who votes for Robert, okay, or Magdalena. We had a candidate in the past, or Małgorzata. We had recently. We don't have any more. So, and you can guess, right? You can again ask your feelings. Does he look like this kind of voter, right? You have certain stereotypes about this. But again, it's much better to look at the demographics of the person. For instance, if we want to say, oh, sorry, I'm talking about the other way around. The other way around. I'm not talking about voters, but it would also be the case here. But this research was not about voters, about guessing politicians, political orientation. So you see a person and you try to say, is he a Republican or is this politician a Democrat, right? So you might use your gut feelings in this case, but you might be better if you look at the demographics as well. So the base rates. So if the person is white, for instance, if the person is older, if the person is male, it's much more likely that this person is a Republican, right? And that's it, right? And that's it. So you shouldn't try to focus on the face. I mean, like searching for something that goes beyond gender, beyond ethnicity, beyond age, because it will mislead you. But people seem to take this information partly into consideration because the accuracy was 56% for political orientation, but when gender and ethnicity and age was controlled for, so people were asked to evaluate photos in which Democratic candidates and Republican candidates didn't differ in their gender, ethnicity, and age, so the accuracy dropped almost to zero, which here, in terms of 0-1 evaluation, when you have only two options, or an alternative, it should be 50%. So here it dropped also almost to being completely at random. And if you look at these graphs here, these show the mean accuracy, how we are accurate based on the base rates. So if there is something, this is another important thing, if there is something that is distributed in the population 50-50, okay? Do you get it? If there is a feature that's distributed in our population like 50-50. So let's take whether you are more left-wing or you are right-wing. It's almost 50%. Let's say so. Let's simplify things. Or, okay, so we take a random person. Oh no, asking about gender wouldn't be very. It wouldn't be just guessing. So, what's other trait that's 50% distributed? 50% distributed. Okay, so let's take the political orientation. 50%. Is this person more left wing or right wing? If you had to distinguish, so it's like, or okay. So if this person is, let's simplify this because we know the elections. The last election. So we have a person that did the person voted for the ruling party or for the opposition? Because it's almost 50% now, almost equally 50%. So in this case, you cannot use the demographic information. Okay, you just cannot use it. Because the base rate, you cannot use the base rate to achieve better outcomes because the base rate is almost equal to random distribution. So if the random distribution would be 50% and if something is 50% distributed, then using base rates will not work. So here, if the dominant base rate is 50%, right? Here's a dominant base rate of a certain feature, and here's the mean accuracy. If the dominant base rate is 50%, then you have this minimal advantage of trying to focus on this person, on his face or her face, and say, is he really looking more like this? Is he really like this based on his appearance? So it's worth taking the effort, because you don't have much accuracy, but you have a slight accuracy. In some cases, it may work, but as soon as this base rate becomes not normally distributed, not normal, sorry, but if it becomes not balanced, so there are more people in one category than in the other, right? Once it increases, you shouldn't try mind reading. You should really, unless it's something, you shouldn't use mind reading. You should just focus on the base rates. So you should assume that this is a typical person, and using face plus demographics gives you worse outcomes than using demographics only. So you have two methods. One method that's much better, and the second that's a little bit good. If you mix them, you might think that if you mix them, it will be better. It won't. Using the better method is better than using a better method and the worse method, because the worse method will introduce more error. So, and this is an interesting feature that shows how we process information about other people and how we are accurate in this or not. So we also talked about cuteness a little bit in the opening lecture 2 months ago, but let's mention, if you want to finish talking about faces today, let's mention it again. So cuteness modulates behavior towards children. This is what we started from. Women seem to be more responsive to this. Usually, of course. There are more women who are more responsive to cuteness than men. What features constitute the baby face? What features constitute? I think I mentioned a little bit about this, so I will not ask you about this. So large eyes, round eyes, like coins, narrow chin, high eyebrows, soft face, shape. There is this effect that we also mentioned a little bit, but this called the teddy bear effect. The teddy bear effect. It means that people who just look like babies, even though they are adults, they are perceived as warmer, more trustworthy, more innocent, but also more incompetent and weaker. But they are treated with more patience, more sensitivity, more compassion, and they are more persuasive, and they are perceived as more persuasive. So people can take more effort to try to persuade them. So the teddy bear effect, another one related to cuteness. We also evaluate competence based on faces. And if you look at these faces here, and my face is here, if you look at the faces here, I think it's a really strong effect. I also had this impression when I looked at these faces that the researchers were quite. They have a very good database, and it really seems to be working. If you look at these faces here and these faces here, these faces are above 4 standard deviations in competence, so it means that they are they look extremely competent, and these faces look extremely incompetent. Competence, it means that you can use your skills and knowledge to solve some tasks that you assign to people. So here are the average faces, and you have a slider in the software, and you can boost their looking competence. So and really works like this. Do you agree that the faces on the right look much more competent than faces on the left, right? If you wanted to have, if you had two dentists or doctors, for instance, that will operate on you, you might be much more, you might perceive a doctor who looks like this much more competent than a doctor who looks like this, or this more like this like this. So it's interesting that we can read competence we reliably. So we have, right? We have this quality in our brain, hardwired, because it's universal among people that we agree with this. So we also evaluate faces among the competence dimension, whether he's skillful or whether he's not skillful. Less round faces, a lower distance between eyebrows and eyes. This is interesting as well. Higher cheekbones. Yeah, you can clearly see this, like here, for instance. And more angular faces. Trustworthiness, another feature. We mentioned it also, so I'll just go quickly through this. Trustworthiness, another important characteristic that it's among the most important characteristic that we read from faces, and we'll need very little time to do it. 33 milliseconds is less than a blink of an eye. So, and we start time we use, it's a time that we start to detect. 30 milliseconds is really small amount of time. You barely recognize this. It's like one frame in a movie. And after 167 milliseconds, you have full detection, right? Full detection. So trustworthiness modulates the behavior towards strangers. Should we approach or should we escape? So it's a very critical information. So the reliability of this information can be, like in the previously presented, a little bit above the average, but still, as far as such important information is concerned, that in the past determined whether you survived or not. Going through the wood, meeting a stranger. Should I escape or should I be friendly to him? In the past, if it was like 200 or 300 years ago, if it was someone not from your community, it might have been a better strategy just to run away, based on the base rates, not on your subjective perception of this person. So we are more sensitive to untrustworthiness, to signs of untrustworthiness than to signs of trustworthiness. This is a general attitude that we have. It's how our brain works, that we are much more sensitive and we experience losses much more intensely than we experience opportunities. So situations in which we can lose something, lose some benefit rather than lose something that we already have, right? So it's missing opportunity or missing threat. It's governed by amygdala. So you know that fear is, because this feature is related to fear. I think I need to swap. Okay, so it is related to fear because we have specialized parts of the brain that are responsible for detecting threatening objects in our environment, and one of these structures is the amygdala. And if you injure this part of brain, people and animals become extremely friendly. They are not afraid of anything. They are not afraid of anything. You also have, right? You also have this this pattern of behavior when you have bilateral lesion of the medial temporal lobe, including amygdala, that you also have extremely trustworthy approach. People do whatever you ask them to do. Low fear, low aggression, very, very easy to be with, and you can ask them for anything. They'll usually do it. So a trustworthy face is also a very strong, has a very strong influence on our behavior. If someone has trustworthy face, and you make an experiment with this person, I think it's an experiment, social experiment that I mentioned to you before, where when you have a certain amount of money. We also do this experiment in our laboratory, and has also worked quite well. So you give a person some amount of money, and you say, it was, I think, 15 zloty in our research. Darek Drążkowski research. And so you give a person 15 zloty, and you say, okay, you can take this money, and you can take it, but you can have 30 zloty if you want. But you need to give it to another person, and the other person will decide whether he will, because the other person will receive. I always have problems with. I must Google. Will receive 30 zloty, I think. Will receive 30 zloty or 45 zloty. I never. So, but the idea is that the other person, if you give 15 zloty to the other person, the person will receive 30, in fact. So it will be doubled, and the person can give you your 15 zloty back, so that the person gets 15 zloty and you get 15 zloty. I have a bad day because I think that I mixed it up again. Could you Google the trust game for me? I'm sorry, it's embarrassing. We did this experiment in our laboratory. I knew the procedure, and I think I might have a problem with getting the exact strategy. But the idea is just Google it on the Wikipedia. But the idea is that if you entrust some money to another person, the person can benefit and can pay you back what you invested, so that you earn even more. So you both earn even more. But the person can as well take everything for him or her. So you must trust this person, that this person is trustworthy. So if you give money to this person will share with you the mutual benefit, because this person knows that you could have given her nothing. So if the person has a trustworthy face, we have 32% more of trust, right? Of trust, based solely on the face. If someone has a trustworthy face, we are 32% more we are likely to entrust 32% more of money to the person. It's a huge effect. Even if we provide the history of this person, the reputation, is he really, or is she really a trustworthy person or not, still there is this effect. It's smaller, but still it is. So even if we have more information about this person, we take into account the facial information. It's less than 42%, but still valid. What makes people look trustworthy or not trustworthy? You mentioned it earlier. You remember this slide, so we'll skip it. Trustworthiness, if you if you analyze, right? If you analyze all sorts of informations that you can judge on a face, right? Like trustworthy, emotional stability, responsible, sociable, caring, weird, attractive, mean, intelligent, aggressive, and things like this. So you can see that actually all features, all positive features, they build one factor. They build one factor in our mind. So there is some general positive response that our mind generates towards another person. But one of the most, the best and the strongest part of this factor, or an exemplar of this factor, is the trustworthiness dimension. Trustworthiness dimension. So it seems to be the main, one of the most positive, the most important positive aspect of positive facial evaluation, and the other one is the dominance. All negative facial features, they converge to the dominance factor. The dominance factor. So, trustworthy person. These are quite similar, because trustworthy person is a person who is sensitive to our needs. So we need something, we can ask this person, and this person helps us. And if it's a dominant person, it means that this person will try to impose pressure on us and will try to act against our expectations. So it's no wonder that these two aspects are important, although they build different separated factors. And dominance also is strongly related to masculinity, femininity, so more to this dimension, and more to masculinity, of course. Oh, by the way, they also find confirmed in this analysis, these authors, that youthfulness is the third one that might be considered here. So if you look at these, if you distribute faces along certain dimensions and try to understand what are among all those evaluations that we can give to other people: attractiveness, baby-facedness, dominance, aggressiveness, trustworthiness, confidence, then you can fit this set of equations, and see if two lines are parallel to each other, it means that that it is the same. If they are orthogonal, like aggressiveness and confidence, it means that they are not related to each other. So when you move along this line, you don't move along this line at all, right? Because it's orthogonal to this. And if you move along attractiveness, you also need to move along confidence. So attractiveness grows, confidence grows, trustworthiness grows as well. Yeah, it is related. Trustworthiness is also related to expression of emotions. Neutral faces that have the resemblance to emotions. This is important, right? Because some people have faces that seem to have some features that normally in neutral faces are representative of some emotion. If you have eyebrows like this, right? It's your neutral face, but you look a little bit angry. If you have eyebrows like this, it makes you look more positive. Smiling faces are perceived as more trustworthy. So people who have anatomically smiley face look more trustworthy as well. People who have anatomically, right? When I'm focused, I very often do it like this, and some people think, oh, he's angry. No, I'm not angry. I'm just focused. Okay, so let's finish with smiles. So I think we need like 10 more minutes. Sorry for the time, but we need to really hurry up because we finish the lecture soon. So I would like to say about social smiles because they're very important, and we will not have another opportunity to do this. And this is what we do with our face, right? Smiling. Actually, smile is a neutral. It's a neutral signal in social relationships, especially if it's not a strong social relationship. I mean, like everyday relationship, even if it is a daily relationship. I remember that when we are setting up our laboratory a couple of years ago, I thought, what should be the approach of experimenters, the guys who are doing this research, like Martyna, for instance, towards research participants, because we are doing research on emotions. So they shouldn't influence our participants' emotions. They should be neutral, right? Experimenters should be neutral. So at some point we thought, okay, so they should have a neutral face. And then we realized, I think it was before you, Martyna, joined, that if you are meeting a new person and you have neutral face, it's aggressive, it's threatening, it's bad. It's bad. You should be smiling. This is the neutral face. Smiling towards new people is a neutral signal that I'm neutral. I'm a good person. So I'm just smiling. So if we talk about smiling, if we think about smiling, there are two approaches that are needed to be considered. First of them is the Duchenne smile, so smiling with eyes. In many cases, we think that our mouth is the main indicator of smiling, because smiling represents that I'm feeling good in this relationship. I have good feelings towards you. So we think that smiling, that face, is the main gives the main signal, right? But of course, it's not the case. It's eyes. It's like I can hide my face, and you still know that I'm smiling. So it's Duchenne smile when we're smiling with our eyes. So it's just like we have this crow feet here by our ears. Our cheeks are elevated, and we know that we are smiling. Okay, so this is one thing. But these guys have extraordinary facial features, and I always think about them when I think about Duchenne smile, because they have extremely, I don't know whether it's trained or whether it's natural, spontaneous, but they really have very intense Duchenne smile. Their eyes are always very much communicative in smiling, very much. So it's hard to be neutral, says Marta. Yeah, but as I said earlier, I need to vanish from this slide because there is no place I can stay. Okay, I will just look a little bit. Hello. So it's hard to be neutral, but being positive is the neutral, I think. So, but another very, very important framework to smiles is to distinguishing three types of a smile. And actually, I was surprised by this research because I didn't recognize this type of smile. I didn't perceive it as a unique smile, with a unique function, affiliation smile. And then when I saw this picture and read this paper, I realized, okay, this is something important. People are really smiling like this a lot. So we have three smiles. One is reward smile. So this smile, the function of this smile is to reward this desired behavior, to reinforce desired behavior. Julia says, it's good that we can detect smile just in eyes, especially now that we have to cover our nose and mouth. Good one. Good observation. Exactly. But you know that in Japan, the smiley face is not with a smile. It's just the eyes are smiling, like the eyes are smiling, because their face is smiling all the time in their culture. So the first smile is the reward smile. It's the smile that when you see someone smiling like this, you feel pleasure. You feel pleasure. It's a rewarding smile. It's not that you are rewarded, right? But it rewards, it activates the reward centers in perceivers' brains. So the first experience, I mean the first function of this smile is when you are a newborn, when you are a toddler. You cannot communicate anything, but you need to manipulate with other people. So how can you do this? You just have this reward smile. When a child is smiling, the whole world is smiling. Some people say something like this. So children have this potent instrument of influencing other behavior, the behavior of others. So it's just smiling, and we feel so much pleasure looking that our child or any other child is smiling. It's so rewarding. So that's why we call it the reward smile. It's not the smile that you do after you receive a reward. I mean you do, but it's not this reward that we are talking here about. And the other is affiliation smile, for forming and maintaining social bonds, right? So it signals that, okay, I'm trustworthy, I'm good, I'm positive towards you, and it's not really faked, right? It's not really faked. Eyes are active, mouth is very distinctive here. And the third one is the beach face, also considered the contempt. It's considered contempt. But it's also been termed, even in the scientific literature, the bitch face. So it's like half of the face smiling. So it's not. Oh, my nose is itching. So this is a smile. It's also a smile. Okay, it is a smile, and many people think that it is the smile. It's the right smile. It's the only smile. But here, this smile is used to negotiate social hierarchies, status negotiation. So I'm better than you. Okay? I'm better than you, right? You're talking to me. Right? It's something like this. So we can challenge higher status individuals. So it's like contempt, right? Not treating someone else seriously. Or disapproval if you are at the same level. What are you doing? My beach face is on this side. Okay. Quite difficult for me to smile, to make the B face at this side. So let's finish this lecture with this. A couple of more photos, but we'll go quickly through this. And if you analyze the ways people smile and the cultures, certain cultures, you see that the researchers were right about this. And people smile in a different way. Let's go back. Smile in a different way in different regions, of the world. I'm sorry, it's cut here. Depending on the culture, and in the hierarchical culture, it's different. And in heterogeneous countries, right? In the heterogeneous countries, when people are different, when people are all sorts of people, the smiling. There's more smiling and more bonding smiles, and hierarchy motives are lower, because in these countries, people need to build agreement, because otherwise it will just collapse. So it's like in the United States, for instance. They have high historical heterogeneity, and observed smiling is also very high. This is what we very often associate, right, with the American culture. Keep smiling, right? Keep smiling. It serves a certain important social feature. So I looked how people smile, I was really surprising with this. So I just Googled, right? Trump smiling, Trump smile, and he has a huge amount. He has a huge amount, as he pronounced this. He has a huge amount of the social smile. Majority of his smiles are like this. It means I'm a good person. I want to be friends with you. Okay? I really wasn't aware of the frequency of this smile with your mouth shut as an important social signal. And if you look at Kim Jong-un, I hope this lecture will not be hacked by his hackers, hopefully. But I don't plan to say anything wrong about him. I don't plan. Perhaps I will, but I don't plan. So he has a lot of reward smile. Is this something that we might expect from someone who represents culture focused around an individual who is attributed an almost godly characteristic, almost godly features? In such situation, there is the most important person in the country. The person shows whether he's happy or not, right? Whether he's happy or not, do something to make me happy. Because if you don't, so there's an increasingly, can you see this, right? Can you see this? There's a huge amount, the dominant smile is the reward smile. So I'm feeling good, right? You should be feeling good when I'm feeling good. It's not that I want to make friends with you. I will show you if I'm feeling good. And if I'm feeling good, you're feeling good, right? If I'm feeling bad, okay, so it's very striking, and it's very in line with what the research showed. Angela Merkel is a little bit this, a little bit of that. This guy has a very strange smile because I think his eyes are not the best kind of eyes to smile with. I don't know whether you have this impression like this. And this is China. A lot of faked social smile, not much with eyes here. Perhaps it is related. Although here we have full Duchenne smile. Here's a full Duchenne smile. Eyes are very much contradicted. I might say that I see some dominance in this kind of smile, which would be in line with the research. And here's Russia, all sort of crazy smiles, but many of them it's a mixture. It's a mixture of everything. So I just asked Google to show me the typical smiles of a person. Yeah. Oh my God! I also so many slides, but I really want to finish off this lecture about faces. So yeah, the last one was about politicians. So the last slide I forgot about this. So the last slide I will bore you to death today. So the last slide will be about the perfect face of a politician. What should a perfect politician look like? So he should be competent looking, except for Finland. For Finnish Finland candidates, I don't know why, but the research shows it's like this. He should be dominant, but at the same time sociable. He should be looking. Could you analyze Hot 16? Yeah, I have this. I have a reference in my own response to this, in my song. Could you analyze? Yeah, I really don't know. I can't understand this. I can't. The sharp shadow of the mist. I can't understand this. Sorry. I was thinking about this for some time, but I can't understand this. So, sorry, Kalina. Perhaps you have some interpretation. It's a good poetry. If someone, it's a quote from Torah. Wow. So if you ask this question, it means that it's good poetry because it makes you think. So a good, perfect politician, right-wing politician should look like a right-wing politician. So he should probably be older white male, if it's right-wing, and he should look politician-like. There's also this category. So here's our politician with makeup and without makeup. I'm afraid to look. Oh, and I also have this candidate, but we are in the middle of the campaign, so I will not comment on this too much, not to be accused of some influences. So thank you for these lengthy lectures, but we really need to hurry up to cover. I was thinking whether we should really take like one day and stream all day long to finish it off and have it completed. What do you think about this crazy idea? Should we take one day and to finish it off and forget about this? So I will write you an email, and we can discuss this later. So thank you again for your presence, for your comments. There weren't too many today, but these that were quite interesting. And you left me thinking about the sharp shadow of the mist. Okay, so it will give me some food for thought. I will read about this. I didn't know that it's from Torah. So do you have any questions regarding anything? It can be also about the sharp shadow of the mist. No questions about this or anything else? So thank you for your presence again, and see you soon. Bye bye.